Thank you for joining me. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Cheer Chat. I'm excited to touch base with you guys. Life has been crazy, but I'm happy to be back. Um, this Cheer Chat is going to be, it's going to seem a little bit like it's coming a little late, but I just wanted to tap in on this whole topic about the Kansas City Chiefs kicker that you guys have probably heard about, the commencement speech that he gave at how do you pronounce the school? Benedictine College. Am I saying that right? Yes. Anyway, there's some layers that I wanted to address as it pertains to the pro cheerleading space. So if you guys will indulge me, I will share my thoughts on that. It's a little late, but I was actually waiting to hear what the Chiefs organization would have to say and how they would address it and their responses, both from like Andy Reid, the coach, and the owner's wife and daughter came last week when I was traveling for work. So here we are next week addressing it, but I'm excited to get into it. Hey, you, how's it going? Um, Thanks for joining me. I hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. There's a few other amazing things to chat about a little bit too. Today, I launched an episode where I interviewed Ray Cook. He's a former Baltimore Ravens cheerleader, was on the squad for 5 seasons, and I finally got to talk about like stunting in our space. Like it's just not something that gets enough love and attention, in my opinion. There are NBA teams, NFL teams that have stunting as a component of what they put on for game day entertainment. And so it was just all my curiosities were just fed in our conversation, learning more about Ray. We clearly can talk all day, but it was just a really great conversation. And I broke it up into 2 episodes because I wanted it to really be digestible and and fun to consume and understanding kind of like the different phases of what we talked about. So more to come on that. I want to share the second part of that episode, but the first one's up for you now to look at. What else do we have going on? A little update on the NBA dance team playoffs before I get into this whole little topic. I'm really so excited at the videos that have been submitted so far, you guys. It is so critical to be able to see what you guys have performed over the course of a season. I know it sometimes requires approvals and things of that nature, but I want to give it a little bit more time. I want more teams to participate. And if you are wanting to reach out to your team and kind of going through a more formal approval process, I'm happy to reach out, send an email, kind of explaining what's going on. But I really think we need more teams to make it kind of like a truly a fun competition. So I want to give it a little bit more time, hopefully launching it maybe when the day that the NBA finals start on, I think it's June 7th, but hopefully the additional time will make a difference. It's not too late. Things are all set and ready to go. I really, really, really want you guys to see these routines. Such creative, like I'm trying not to watch because I want to watch as they're kind of presented for you guys, but just a note that it's not too late and I hope you guys can join. But let's get into my thoughts, right, on this whole thing. I won't bore you with the details. Hopefully, you've been reading up on it. He gave his commencement speech at a Catholic institution. He's very proudly Catholic and shared a lot of his Catholic views and beliefs. And I didn't know much about him before this, so it sounds like he's very outspoken in his beliefs. So this really probably shouldn't have come as much of a surprise. Um, and for those of you, I mean, you could raise your hand if you don't follow, but he really made a comment basically to the women in the audience who were just receiving their degrees, obviously very excited about their hard work and celebrating that moment, maybe to embark on careers, maybe not, who knows, but he shared his views. And because he thought that they had been fed a lot of lies about, I guess this pursuit of a career, right? And I don't want to read to you, but I'm going to read a little bit because there's just certain things I wanted to touch on. So he said, "For the ladies present today, congratulations on an amazing accomplishment. You should be proud of all that you've achieved to this point in your young lives. I want to speak directly to you briefly because I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. How many of you are sitting here now about to cross the stage and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career? Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. Then he kind of goes on to mention his wife, who says that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother. I'm and so I'm just going to read this particular part. I'm on the stage today and able to be the man that I am because I have a wife who leans into her vocation. I'm beyond blessed with the many talents God has given me, but it cannot be overstated that all of my success is made possible because the girl I met in band class back in middle school would convert to the faith, become my wife, and embrace one of the most important titles of all, homemaker. And he kind of goes on, expressing appreciation for his wife and that you're happier when you're living, God's will in your life. And he says that her dream of having a career might not have come true, but if you asked her today if she has any regrets on her decision, she would laugh out loud without hesitation and say, heck no. So that was his position, right? And when I first heard that, I was just like, wow, really? This is what we're doing? But the level of like outrage over people doing things these days for me, I mean, maybe I'm getting like a little bit, what's the word? Numb to things. Like nothing surprises me anymore, right? Somebody spills off what they think. He said a whole lot of other stuff in this commencement speech touching on diversity and inclusion, the LGBTQ community. Like he was going in on what he perceived as people maybe not living up to their Catholic faith or feeling like they needed to mute their beliefs because they want to, I don't know, appear likable in this space. So anyway, the whole point is it was really when I first heard it, I wasn't surprised. I'd not, like I said, not heard of the guy before or his views or beliefs, but I was really curious, like, okay, the first thing that came to mind for me, you guys, was the Kansas City Chiefs cheerleaders went viral. I don't know if you remember, but it was around the time of the Super Bowl, right? Or the NFL playoffs where they had like how many goddamn views? I wrote it down. They did that whole thing that a lot of teams picked up on, right? Where it's like when you're at work, but you're also an NFL cheerleader and have practice every day, and they have all these occupations, right, of the cheerleaders where they are like marking routines and practicing because they have practice that night, but they're showcasing their careers. They got a lot of buzz. They had like 8.9 million views, and this is just Instagram, also views on TikTok. Um, it was crazy. It went viral, and people were having a lot of different reactions to the fact that NFL cheerleaders have careers in addition to their job in the NFL. And the reason this came to mind was here you have such a celebrated group of women who also represent the brand of the Kansas City Chiefs cheerleaders, who are proudly stating their career paths, right? And the fact that they're balancing their career and doing something that they love as well. And so I was curious, like, okay, let me see what the Kansas City Chiefs reaction is going to be because I view the cheerleaders as a big piece of the brand as well, right? And you guys go through media training and all of the things that show that you can kind of have your own personal opinion, but how to think of the brand or what have you. So I was like, what's going to be the reaction from this guy speaking his mind at this commencement speech? And it took a while. Like I think he made his speech on May 11th. It was like a week later that Andy Reid gave a statement, and a couple others associated with the organization. Like I said, I think it's the CEO, maybe not the owner, Clark Hunt's wife and daughter that also chimed in. But I just want to say, like, it's just really interesting, the double standard here. I don't know. I don't have time to look at the roster for the Kansas City Chiefs cheerleaders, try to look at their social media to see if they said anything or they had the freedom to say anything. But the thought that came to me was just like, to the extent if you are a Kansas City Chiefs cheerleader or an NFL, I mean, has feelings about or reaction to his comments. And I saw a lot of deference to people just have their own opinion and he's just stating his beliefs. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to get outraged. He's not saying anything bad about women. He's speaking in support of his wife being the homemaker and the family, blah, blah, blah. But I was, again, really curious what the response was going to be from people within the organization. So I'm going to flip here to some statements from Andy Reid. And I'm just raising this because I don't know that this necessarily extends to the cheerleaders. And if I were on the team, and this is kind of the frame of mind that I had about this is like, if something came out like a Seahawks player saying some really some stuff that I did not agree with, and it was so like pointedly directed to me as a woman. Maybe I'm not in the audience at this commencement speech, but clearly values and beliefs that he holds, that he speaks so freely about. I might feel inclined, to the extent I disagree, to want to say something. Like I don't see that I would feel like great about just like not addressing that the fact that the team that I'm cheering for has this, or one of the players on the team that I cheer for has this view that they put out so publicly, and that I actually can't say anything in response or as a rebuttal, or just voice my own thoughts, right? Because here's what I'm going to point out about how people in the organization spoke out, and I just thought it was really curious that it wasn't anybody who had an opposing view, right? Oh, they're saying that they don't necessarily agree with him, but they're leaving a lot of space for him to be an individual and have his state frame of mind and his belief systems and speak on it. And I'm like, okay, well, what about us, right? I mean, what do you guys have to say about it? Andy Reid just said something to the effect that we're a microcosm of life here. Everybody's from different areas, different religions, different races, until we all get along. We all respect each other's opinions, and not necessarily do we go by those, but we respect everybody to have a voice. It's a great thing about America, and we're just, like I said, a microcosm of that. And my wish that everybody could kind of follow that. So I was like, okay, everybody's got room for their own views and opinions, and everybody should get the respect of having a voice. Um, Let me just address that real quick first, because when Brittany and I started this podcast, I think it was like our second episode was Shut Up and Dance. And it was called that because when it came down to Colin Kaepernick kneeling, for example, and seeing one cheerleader that we saw on the NFL stage being able to express herself and her alignment with what he was standing up for, which is against police brutality, that it just wasn't really safe. Like it's almost like all the rules around like expressing your beliefs or kind of like how you feel didn't really apply to cheerleaders, right? Like we had to shut up and dance, except for the brave one that, I mean, I'm not saying everybody had to agree with it, but at that time it was really scary for somebody to speak up about something that was going on politically or otherwise in our society. And there was a lot of crap going on at the time too. And so I just, again, I don't know all the situation with the Kansas City Chiefs cheerleaders in terms of them having the freedom to say something if they disagreed with this, but for the organization to take the position that everybody has the respect to have a voice, and it might not be something that everybody believes in, everybody's got their own opinion. I'm like, okay, well, for the team that went viral for sharing their professions that they actually, had to earn a degree and work really, really hard at while they're balancing being an NFL cheerleader, like surely these ladies have an opinion or thoughts about what was stated. And so I kept checking the Kansas City Chiefs cheerleaders social media. I'm not going to look up the whole roster, but I just kind of felt like I wonder if they had any space to react to what was said. And it just, I mean, I'm going to guess probably not. I mean, they just made the team. This whole story comes out. I'm just going to say that it's probably not likely. I hope that they had the opportunity to speak publicly or otherwise about how these words and views being expressed by somebody from the team made them feel. But everybody, and Andy Reid, from Patrick Mahomes to different players, have kind of like distanced themselves from like what he said, but definitely giving him space and deference to say whatever it is that he feels and his beliefs are. And I think everybody should have that right, um, including the cheerleaders. Like, especially if you actually all went viral for touting your careers, to be able to speak and have a platform to say, just for the record, that this doesn't speak for you, right? Like, that's what I would want if I were in your shoes. I don't know how to say it. Is it Tavia and Gracie Hunt? Tavia, I'm pretty sure it's Tavia, but whatever. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing. But I thought it was interesting that they, as women, as part of like the leadership of the team, put out a statement as well. And again, kind of giving again that deference to him to be able to say what he believes. But I thought that it was interesting that the voices that you heard first, and not that everybody has to jump to outrage, but I thought it was interesting that both the mother and the daughter kind of had a similar statement around like basically saying being a stay-at-home mom is there's nothing wrong with it, and it's a great way of raising a family, and kind of like I should just read it, but I'm trying to not read to you guys, but I like that Gracie made the point that like there are some women out there who don't have a choice around being a staying at home mom or having a career, but it seemed like they were both somewhat affirming like what Harrison Butker stated. And so I thought it was just really interesting in terms, again, like the first comments to come from players and the leadership on the team, the owner, like the leadership of the organization, that it was all very much like, he can state his beliefs and it's okay. And nothing that was like a different opinion. And I just thought that the Chiefs cheerleaders being in the role that they are in, balancing careers while doing something that they love, cheering and representing the organization, it would have been a great opportunity, I think, from not even just a PR perspective, but just to give of some space for them to say how they feel. And I think I was just rather disappointed that we didn't hear from them. I wanted to hear from them. I mean, you grabbed like almost 9 million views sharing the vocations of all of the cheerleaders on your team during the Super Bowl. And so you would think that there would be an opinion that these women would have on some the statements like this. And, you know, I think it's a healthy conversation. You don't always have to agree with each other. But hearing a counter view would be extremely healthy, especially in this circumstance, because you do have a group of women representing the brand just like this guy. And I know typically what we are told while we are in these roles as NFL cheerleaders is just, you go through the whole media training so you can kind of know what the guardrails are of speaking about certain things and sharing your opinion. And I don't think it's that free, and everybody has a right to a voice and we respect everybody's opinions. I don't know that that really applies to us. And I guess that's the main reason that I thought it was just worthy of addressing. Like, how do the Kansas City Chiefs cheerleaders feel about what was said, and how can we add to the narrative that's going on with the different press? I mean, you got everybody's disagreeing, not everybody. You got a lot of people that disagree with what he said, a lot of people saying, it's his beliefs and we don't have to believe him, and, the same thing, and it's okay. And that's okay. I just think, okay, well, where are the other voices in the room? And I would have liked to see where the Kansas City Chiefs cheerleaders landed, especially because of them going viral for sharing various occupations. And I think he was very purposeful in his delivery, and what he said. And, you know, I I have thoughts. It's probably not even worth going into like specifically how I felt about what he said. I do think I don't know if it's what he meant to say. But there's a lot of pride and importance, obviously, in being a home. I mean, he called it homemaker. I mean, call it what you want. Having children, being a wife, like there's no judgment on one path versus the other of pursuing a career, getting your degree, or choosing to be a stay-at-home mom. They're all vocations. I hate that word to use, but that are worthy of lots of praise. And he was right to give honor to his wife for allowing him to be the best that he could be on the football field and stating it in that way. But I think it's just to speak at a graduation where these people have just earned a degree and went through all of the motions and the hard work to actually establish a career, to say something like that was definitely, again, just kind of a one-sided tilt. And I would have loved to hear from the Kansas City Chief cheerleaders who have these amazing careers to be able to speak to that being just as wonderful a path to pursue, and the way that they're pursuing it while being an NFL cheerleader. I think just would have been a nice addition to the conversation. And it just seemed a little calculated in the way that the team spoke in response to this, like a whole week later. And again, it's great to hear from, the CEO's family about being a stay-at-home mom, but you have 30 plus women who are representing your organization that have careers and getting a little bit of. I'm just so curious. Maybe it happened behind the scenes, but why not publicly, right? Like, he was very public and maybe in his own personal capacity. But if everybody having a voice is truly a principle that these teams are going to hold now, like it wasn't really something that was upheld for Colin Kaepernick to have his personal views. He's still to this day banned essentially from the league. But if that's the stance we're going to take, that's fine. It's just this is a missing piece of the puzzle in terms of like representation of voices. And I would have loved to have seen the Kansas City Chiefs cheerleaders um, take on all of this. I mean, again, I have my take, and I don't know if you guys. It's not even the one thing I'll say about what he said is just that being a mother is a wonderful thing. If I had the luxury of being a stay-at-home mom and not having to work and have a career to support my family, then yay. But and again, we're not pitting paths against one another because that's just not what we're doing. They're everybody's path, that is their choice of a path, is worthy and obviously of all the praise, and because it's our choice. I think that's the whole point, right? It's not because somebody said you should be excited about being a wife and like, no, you get to choose what your path you want and what success that you want in life. You may want to tackle your career and then transition into looking for these other areas of fulfillment in your life, whether that's partnership with someone or having a family. But I just kind of felt like it was one-sided. I would have loved to have had other voices in the room. I think for this team in particular to go viral for having careers, it just seemed like a missed opportunity and a very super duper safe, maybe super conservative. I forget the chick on TikTok whose video got a lot of views. She was a former Kansas City Chiefs cheerleader and she was kind of speaking to, I mean, she was just kind of off on a rant about it, but I just think it's something that to think about. Like, I hope that they had a voice. I hope that they had the safety and the freedom to express it. I hope it was public to the extent they wanted it to be public, or even as a team talking about how they felt about it. And, I wouldn't have been feeling it, to be honest. Like, I'm just going to keep it, I'm going to just have a drink to that. I wouldn't have felt, like I said, I wouldn't have felt great if I didn't get to also say how I felt. Like, if everybody's going to stand behind somebody saying all of this stuff, like, and just gonna distance themselves and say, "Hey, I don't really agree with it, but everybody can has an opinion and everybody has a voice and they can say whatever they want to say." Okay, does that mean I can say what I want to say because I got something to say? And I just think it just seemed like it was a little bit lost. And I mean, people pointed out that his mom also, like, she's clearly educated, a medical physicist. She's teaches, I think, no, she's at Emory University's like Cancer Institute in Atlanta. She's got a degree in chemistry from Smith College. So people were calling that out too. But it's really just like, let's get some other voices in the room. And I was just a little disappointed that the only voices were kind of like almost kind of like co-signing and not and giving a lot of space and deference to him, but not really allowing a difference of opinion. So to the women of the Kansas City Chiefs cheerleaders, you can I mean, I'm just curious now. Like, you can DM me, it's private, around whether you actually had a voice and you were able to express it. I mean, I'm not saying you didn't, but it's something that I absolutely found interesting in this whole story. If he can say what he wants, my whole beef is like, okay, well then, and he represents a brand in the NFL. And if everybody's going to take the arm's length view on, you could say what you want as long as it's your own personal views and you don't speak for the entire league and organization. And to me, that's should apply to the cheerleaders as well. And if I found something that was said or done offensive to my own personal belief system and values, and I wanted to speak on it, then I should have the freedom to do that too. I know that's not the reality, and that's kind of why I'm addressing this, is because similar to that Shut Up and Dance episode, I know that it's like a double standard. We are held to a much higher standard around media training than this guy right here. And we are held to so much more around having that fine line probably in your own social media, and you're representing the brand. You can't just go flying off about what you think and what you believe. I'm pretty sure that they talk about that in everybody's orientation. So again, you just would expect a little bit the same grace to extend to the cheerleaders. I would have loved to have heard from the cheerleaders. And oh, hey, preach. I mean, we know how this world goes. Like, it's not, we're just held to a higher standard. I'm just going to leave it at that. And I'm not feeling it. And for people from the organization to only kind of somewhat back what he was saying and giving him space and freedom to do that and trying to say it's him speaking in his personal capacity, to me means that that should apply to the cheerleaders as well. And I would have had thoughts if I were on that team. I mean, maybe because I have, you know, my my bachelor's in marketing, my master in business administration, and my law degree. Like, I probably would have been feeling some kind of way just in terms of like, there were so many things in that speech that I would have taken issue with, but I would have having a career path and pursuing your dreams and making the choice as a woman that that's what you want to do, applauded, period. That's just the way it should go. Like, it's just point blank, end of story. And if you choose to be a homemaker and it's your choice for you, not because you are allowing the husband to do all the things. And I just really took issue with that paragraph. I'm sorry. Like, everybody's got their own beliefs around partnership and support, but I like the idea of a man, instead of saying like her dreams didn't come true and she wouldn't regret any single, like, he's speaking a lot for women. Maybe his wife needs to speak on how she feels. It was a lot of assumptions, it sounded like, in the trade-offs that you make as a woman, as a mom, in terms of having a family. Like, I just have thoughts, and I don't know that he nailed this speech. It maybe was very personal for him, but, I'd much rather appreciate a man that's willing to support his woman's dreams coming true as much as his own dreams coming true. And I didn't hear that in his speech. It was more, she has enabled me to fulfill my dreams. And even though she didn't get to do her dreams, like, she would say, heck no, I'm fine. I don't have any regrets. And I just, I don't know if I'm buying that. Like, I don't know that I'm buying that. But I do think, obviously, it goes without saying, being a mother is an amazing profession and career path, or whatever you want to call it. I won't call it vocation. I don't really like the sound of that. It's just as admirable, and I wish everybody had the time that they would want to have with their children and not having to work. Not every woman is obviously afforded that opportunity, but it's your choice. If you have the choice, it's your choice, and there should be no judgment placed on women who pursue a career, who pursue higher education, and want to pursue their dreams, and also have families, get married, like, all of the things. Like, what was he even going for with that whole thing? I'm done with him. I just want to hear from the girls, my girls. I want to hear from the cheerleaders on the team. That was my disappointment. Tavia, and Gracie Hunt, their comments were nice and all, but, again, the privilege to not have to work. And it didn't really sound as much in support of the women who would have been sitting in that audience at that commencement ceremony, or sitting on your teams representing your organization. Like, I wish that they would have allowed them to have the floor. That's my 2 cents on that. Hello. Oh my goodness. So good. Thank you guys for joining. Like I said, just wanted to hop on. It's a little late, but they responded late and I was on my work trip. Are you guys okay? I want your opinions on how we can watch this DCC Netflix stuff together. Do we need to have like a whole little cheer chat designated for each episode? I don't even remember like if it's coming out all at one time or week by week, but that is on my radar. It's coming up this month in June. I would love for us to be talking and sharing reactions and all of the things to that. Um, I'll just close out with Pro Dance Team Playoffs. Like, still want to do it. Got some submissions and some teams that are really amazing, and we just need more of them so that we can keep it going and launch it in time for like the NBA playoffs to kick off. What's on y'all's mind? Do you guys have anything? I want you to check out the episode. It's called Pocket of Sunshine with my favorite ray of sunshine, Ray Cook from the Baltimore Ravens cheerleaders. Like I said, part 2 will be coming soon. Anything else worth discussing? Okay, travel plans. I'm just going to say that because July is a month. Okay, what's happening? I'm going to the NFL Cheerleaders Alumni Association. I'm probably messing that up, but they're having like their biannual reunion in Boston. I'm going to be in the Boston area. First time in Boston. Super excited about that. If you're going, hit me up. Let me know. Then there is the Choreography Pros Dance Convention, and I hope you're going this year. Unique. I hope that's your name, right? Too. Anyway, I hope you're going. I really hope to see you again there. It is such an amazing convention, lots of amazing choreographers, and I'm excited for that. I hope to make it to the Pro Action Showcase again. A lot's happening in July, but it's gonna be here before we know it. So I just wanted to put it on your radar. It's a great way of training. I know people are still going through auditions, teams are still forming. But if you want to have some additional training, maybe you didn't make the team that you wanted to this year and you want to keep dancing all year long, I would definitely recommend pursuing either of those opportunities or both. They're not the same weekend. But if there's nothing else, I'm going to let y'all go. Um, I'm just excited to get these playoffs popping, y'all. So talk to your teams. Let me know if you need additional information. I do think we're getting around some of that copyright stuff. I'm not making any money on YouTube from posting your videos. It's not monetized. It's just a way for you to see the videos, come back and vote, and let's have some fun looking at these performances. They're so good. I'm trying not to look at them all, but I really hope we get some more submissions. Let me know if you need any additional information. Anything else that you guys want to discuss before I go? Love to hear y'all's thoughts on the whole kicker situation, but I hope this news blows over. I'm over it, but I would love to hear from anybody who's on the team that wants to tap in on whether you had the space to say what you had to say. Just curious. I said what I said. It was so good to see you guys. Thanks for joining, and hopefully I'll see you guys next week. I'll talk to you later.